Mystery Brew, broadcasting from a mystery location somewhere out there. So if you are out there, hey Diz, how you doing? Give us a shout. You're very welcome to join the chat. Don't be a troll though, or we will kick you off. Check out the community guidelines on that. So today we're going to be talking, I'm going to be dragged back into this because I guess we do need to address the elephant in the room. And since the Trump election, the election that Trump won, I have been studiously trying to avoid talking about the orange blob as much as humanly possible, but we do need to address this point. Lots of Americans are going to die. A shitload of Americans are going to die. I reckon 9/11 every day for 4 years. That's the title I've given this video, and I stand by that. That would mean 3,000 people were killed on that tragic day in 2001. That happened every day for 4 years. 4.3 million Americans would die. Unnecessary, violent, often deaths. There's a few ways that this will happen, and we've already seen this assassination of a healthcare boss yesterday. Now we don't know the suspect, as far as I'm aware. Just before I went on air, hasn't been apprehended yet. So we can only speculate about motivation. However, healthcare boss assassinated. Why would that happen? Well, you could postulate that it was because someone they loved died unnecessarily because they didn't get the healthcare coverage that they were supposed to get. They were stiffed by the insurance. Maybe their partner or someone got cancer or had a heart attack, which in America, I mean, they'll look after you for the first few months until you lose your job. And they stop looking after you. Yeah. Which is nice. This is why you get people with terminal cancer having to work in America up till the day that they literally die. Women give birth and have to go back to work the next day. No maternity leave in America. And minimum wage is so minimum that it is literally half what it was in the 1960s, relatively, for twice as much productivity. So basically the boomer generation worked half as hard for twice as much money for minimum wage. So I'm thinking this could be, and I might be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, the start of people committing incredibly, grotesque acts of violence, which is nothing new in America. Let's face it, it kind of happens all the time. But even more so. Why? Well, because the commander-in-chief is a criminal and gets away with it. They look at the president as their leader, as the head of state, and he says, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a single vote, and he's right. He can rape someone, he can rape a lot of women and still not lose a single vote. He can steal top secret government documents and hand them over to the Russians and lead to the deaths of over 150 Secret Service agents, the American, not the Secret Service, the overseas agents, spies of America, the spy list that he gave away to America's enemies so that they could, the Russians and the Iranians and the Saudis, whoever paid him, could go and assassinate those people or assassinate the people who were helping the CIA. And then you've got the fact that there's going to be absolute carnage when it comes to healthcare in America. You've got Robert F. Kennedy, who's going to be in charge of healthcare in America. And he wants to stop all research into diseases. He wants to stop children getting vaccinated against diseases that would save their lives. So you can add them to the pile of the dead if you want. I mean, coffin sales are going to go through the roof, especially little ones. And then you've got just the general fact that Trump can kill as many of his own citizens, or foreign citizens, doesn't matter. He can kill as many people, he can kill as many human beings as he likes. And the Supreme Court have deemed it legal. And yes, I can debate Mikey on this and say, he'll say, yeah, but the army won't follow orders to shoot innocent civilians. And I'm like, if you, yeah, there's a lot of people in the army who serve with honor and integrity, and there's Abu Ghraib. There's shocking stories of soldiers doing the most horrific things in the theatre of war. American soldiers, British soldiers, Afghani soldiers. It doesn't really matter where they're from. So yeah, his faith in the armed services of America not to do the right thing, I think, is sadly misplaced. And also, it's about the police in America, increasingly militarized. The police in America, like, literally have tanks now, and they're not there to protect and serve the population. They see civilians as the enemy, because half the civilians that they encounter on a daily basis have got a weapon of mass destruction on them, i.e. a gun. Which can cause a lot of destruction, especially if it's an AR-15. Yeah. So there's that as well. So you got the healthcare, you got the increase in random acts of violence because it's been given the green light by the commander-in-chief. You know, if your God, if your shiny Godhead says, yeah, killing's cool, man, it absolves you of the basic tenets of morality that impinge on the rest of us and make us not do horrible things to each other. And Trump will probably pardon anyone who does commit any of these horrifically violent acts. So this is why yesterday I was talking about reading between the lines with the Hunter Biden pardon that his father's given him. I think it's because he was scared for Hunter Biden's life. If Hunter Biden's behind bars, Trump can kill him really easily, like he did with Jeffrey Epstein. And then you've got other acts of violence which will result in death one way or another, in that you'll have sexual assault will go through the roof because, again, Trump committed sexual assault time and time again, bragged about it, and he's now the president. And that gives the green light for every two-bit, sketchy, weird, blinky rapist out there to go and do horrific things. And then you've got the all-in abortion ban, in which all the cities in America are going to be banned from getting hold of abortion medication using the Comstock Act. And that's going to result in even more death because there's going to be complications in pregnancy. There always is. 150 years ago, half of all pregnancies ended with the child dying or the mother dying. That horrific era ended because of modern medicine. Yeah, and that medicine's now going to be taken away. Not only that is they're going to be, taken away. They're going to have also the mental health issues that are going to come of this increase in violence, which we see in war zones. You look at a country like Syria, which has been at war now, in one way or another, battling on and off for the last 13 years. And you see an increase in sexual assault, you see an increase in domestic violence, because people live a more violent life. They normalize and internalize that violence. And then that usually comes out in assaults against women, and also impinges on people's mental health, PTSD, etc., etc. So you're going to have a lot of people checking out as a result of their mental health problems that have been exacerbated by Trump's violence, that he is going, this nightmare that he's going to push all over America. And honestly, I think 3,000 Americans dying a violent death every day for 4 years might be a low estimate, if you can believe that. Now, of course, when it comes to shocking people, it can't happen behind closed doors. 9/11 was so effective, and the reason why people still will remember it for the rest of their lives, those of us who were there, well, not necessarily in New York, but watching it live on TV or on the internet. One of the reasons why it will stay with us is because it was so shocking, because it was so out there. It was so like, it was the images. But a lot of this violence that's going to take place in America is going to happen behind closed doors. People won't know about it. I mean, you'll see it in statistics, but one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. Apparently Stalin said that. I don't know if he actually did, but it's attributed to him. And he's right. Because you look at a million, you can't imagine that kind of number. You can't imagine that amount of suffering. Your brain's not made for it. We're very bad at big numbers, humans. We're bad for planning for the future. We're bad at statistics. Otherwise, no one would gamble. And we're also, very bad with big numbers. We just don't really know what they mean. We get to the point where there's a few extra zeros at the end, and I don't know. It's, we're meant to be swinging through the trees and counting like bananas with our hands. That's about it. That's why I know people who get genuinely freaked out and upset about how many stars there are in the universe, how many galaxies there are. And I get it. I absolutely get it. How many connections, neurons there are in your brain. I mean, like, it's an insane number. And I know that upsets people. I know that it really does affect them in that way, but not in the way that allows them to sort of grapple with what it really means. And so a lot of these deaths will go into the American, statistics. Weirdly enough, well, not weirdly, but, kind of understandably, if you understand gun culture in America and how it's been hyped up by the gun manufacturers who want to sell guns, so they make everyone feel like they need a gun in order to be an American or to live their life or to be safe from the other people with the guns. The FBI is really, really, really restricted on what data it can gather about gun crime. Not any other crime, just guns. Just if it's a crime involving a gun, they're restricted on the amount of data that they're allowed to collect. Well, also there's the other crime, which is people dying in police custody or being shot in the back by a police officer when running away. That is voluntarily handed over to the FBI by the police force if they want it. And talking about the police force, I mentioned it was increasingly militaristic over the last sort of 20, 25 years. But also you've got the fact that the police unions are so strong that you literally can get away with murder if you are a police officer. And many do. Many do. So the idea that Trump says there's an Antifa protest outside the White House on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and he tells the local cops to just kill them all, just shoot them all dead. And they say, "Ooh, don't know about that. We'll be getting into trouble." And he's like, first of all, you never get into trouble when you kill someone. You're a cop. Come on. And secondly, if you do get into trouble, I'll just pardon you because I'm the president and I can do that. I really think that a lot of Democrats haven't really thought this through. I think Biden has, and that's why he's pardoned Hunter. I think that a lot of Democrats, I think some of them are going to leave the country on January the 20th. I think they would be smart to do that. But also, the scary thing is, Trump's also in charge of the CIA. Technically. Well, no, not technically, he will be. He'll be in charge of the CIA. So if you want someone taken out in another country, might want them tortured first. And it's the sort of thing he would do because he's a fucking psychopath. I can't like explain this enough to people who voted for Trump, who think he'll make a good president. He was good last time. That time he didn't build a wall. When he said he was going to build that wall and Mexico was going to pay for it, and not only did Mexico not pay for it, he didn't build the fucking wall. But he was a great president. Tell me the great things he did. He failed to repeal Obamacare, failed to build a wall, failed to drain the swamp. Yeah, well, what else did he say he was going to do? Did he do anything that he said he was going to do? Did he? No, he didn't, because he was a lame duck president from the start. Even though, at the start of the last administration, he had control of the House and control of the Senate and control of the Supreme Court. He got to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices. And they decided, in their infinite wisdom, along with the other 3 Republican MAGA dickheads on the Supreme Court, the compromised Supreme Court, they decided that they were going to just go down that road of, the president is above all laws, all mortal laws. Laws are for mortal people. President is above that. Not President Biden, obviously. You know, he can't do what he wants because he's got, I don't know, some kind of moral compass or something. Quitter. But President Trump, oh, well, we can do something with that, can't we? And he will. And he will. So I hate to be, you know, the bearer of bad news. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but America is fucked. I can't stress that enough. It is just 100%. Beyond anything that I can possibly imagine over the next few years, because Trump is an absolute monarch. He is the most powerful person who has ever lived in humanity, in the whole history of humanity. On January the 20th, he becomes the most powerful man in history. And it will affect the rest of us because, you know, I mean, like one thing that, like the violence, the casual violence of America is something that we don't really think about as much as I think we should. I mean, we report on these high school massacres that happen every week. We report on the high levels of gun death. We report on this and that. You know, the gang crime, the gang culture and criminality and stuff. But the reality is, most people who get shot with a gun, it's your spouse, it's your wife, it's your husband, because it's domestic, or it's your neighbour, because you've had an argument with them over the fence, over the positioning of the fence, so you shoot them in the face. That happens a lot. Most people who get shot in America know the person who shot them. It's not just some random person who turns up in Las Vegas with an AR-15. It's, you know, someone that they know. But I find the parallels between Saudi Arabia and America very interesting. One of them that really stood out for me is that when I was in Saudi Arabia, on the TV, they would cut to death any movies that had any kind of sex in it, any kind of, I mean, even kissing would be taken out of it. And yet you could have the most violent movie ever made. You could have Reservoir Dogs, literally Reservoir Dogs, on the telly, on terrestrial TV in Saudi Arabia at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because don't forget, this is a country where they still have public hangings. So, you know, on a Friday afternoon, they say, oh, what should we do, you know, before we go to the Friday prayers? Oh, let's go to a hanging. Oh, we'll take the kids. We'll take the kids to watch some people die. That happens still. And I think that if that happened in America, people will go to it. People go to watch executions. You do realize this in America. You know, when people, I know they don't use electric chair anymore. Well, they used to, but you know, there's people watching. They're just people. They're not necessarily the victims of the person who murdered a bunch of people, or magistrates or journalists or whatever. You can literally, like in a court, you can go and watch a court case. You just turn up. You go to Parliament in the UK, you just turn up. You don't need a prior appointment. You just turn up and say, I want to watch the debate. And they go, okay, go up to the public gallery. Okay, thanks. Check your bags. Up you go. Same in America, but with executions. You get to watch someone die. And they're not public executions. I mean, they don't take place in a town square like what happened in Afghanistan in the stadiums, or what happens in Iran if you're gay and you get put to death. But still, it's just one step away. You know, anyone who wants to watch someone die, oh, I want to know what it's like to watch someone die. Oh, I'm rubbing my legs weirdly. You know, it's just a bizarre thing. Like, anyone who wants to see that should seek counselling at the very least. At the very, very least. So I found that parallel really interesting, because in America, that acceptance of violence over sex or any kind of, like, I always made this joke about 24, the TV show with Kiefer Sutherland. The second season started and he cut someone's head off and like delivered it on the table. I remember watching it going, this is amazing. He can't say the word fuck, but he can do that. He can't say the word shit. He can say damn, just about, but I think there's a certain number of damns that you're allowed in an American network TV show. He couldn't swear. He couldn't go to the toilet. You know, no one could get naked. You know, they couldn't have like a steamy sex scene, but he could literally cut someone's head off and deliver that head in a plastic bag on a table. And it's this acceptance of just this gruesome violence, and the way in American culture, because of American gun culture, guns solve all problems. You think about how many American films where the protagonist is having a problem, and the way that protagonist solves the problem is with guns. Lots of guns. Terminator, The Matrix, you name it. I mean, even Fight Club. He solves the problem by shooting himself in the head. I mean, come on. Like, this is standard American trope that we've just all internalized. We probably don't even notice it anymore. When someone runs out and there's the baddie's getting away in a helicopter, so they shoot at the helicopter. What would that do? It would put like a little hole in it, maybe. You know, I mean, you'd be very lucky to hit the bloody fuel tank. And even if you did hit the fuel tank, it wouldn't explode. Or the way that you know, someone shoots at a car. Shoot at a car. Car's driving away. They shoot the car. The car blows up, and I'm like, "Not how guns work, mate." Sorry, but also, I mean, one of the things that I always thought was really visceral and well done in the movie Saving Private Ryan, the first few minutes where it's the landing at the Normandy beaches, right? The D-Day landings. And it is really visceral. But one of the things that I noticed about it is when people get shot, they don't just die like that. They start dying. And that's what you hardly ever see on American TV and American films, stuff like that. You know, the baddie's there and he's got hostage or whatever, and it's just bang, and they shoot him and he's dead. And that's it. He's gone. And there's hardly any blood. In reality, it's not like that. Like, in reality, very few people die straight away from being shot. They die about an hour later in writhing agony in a pool of blood. Reservoir Dogs, probably a better example, although they all do shoot each other at the end. But the fact that Mr. Orange takes so long to die, he takes the whole, sorry, spoilers, he takes the whole movie to die because he's been shot in the stomach. And that's more realistic. But we hardly ever see that. We hardly ever see the suffering. It's just, I have a magic machine. It's a magic killing machine, and it's like the fucking sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who or Harry Potter's magic wand or Gandalf's staff. It's this multi-tool Swiss Army knife of magic that can just do anything you want. And Americans believe it because they see it all the time and they live that life. They're not scared. You know, I feel like when I go to the airport in the UK, and you see the police, and they've got this. I don't know why they do this. Someone who knows more about guns can probably tell me. But they've always got the shoulders hunched up, haven't they? And they're holding the gun like down, and they have this big fuck off automatic gun, and they're walking around like this. And I'm just like, really puts me on edge. I hate it. I hate seeing someone with a weapon of mass destruction who can kill like 100 people in this building. Like, what gives you the divine right to have that weapon, to, you know? And then they say, oh, yeah, we're saving people's lives here, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, come on. But yeah, it's like, if you're going to do something terroristy at an airport, I'm sure you're going to plan it in advance. I'm sure you're going to know that there's people there with guns. I mean, do they have to be walking around with the gun? Are there going to be people at the airport who are like, oh, I'm going to do something terroristy, but oh, I just saw a guy with a gun, better not do it now. Yeah, that's gonna dissuade the suicide bombers. So yeah, I think this what we're going to see with the Trump presidency is going to be a tidal wave of violence and suffering between the diseases that, you know, children are going to die of and people are going to die of, the lives that are going to be ruined. Don't forget Trump and his friends, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, who's a ketamine addict, who's a drug addict, and possibly a nonce. He's going to sack half the government workers. So you're going to have loads of people who don't have a job anymore. And a lot of people use their job to measure their self-worth. So again, another massive impact when it comes to mental health. And, you know, they're happy for this. They're happy for people who they see as weak to be taken out of the gene pool, so to speak. They'll celebrate that. Because they're scum. They are absolute scum, and they're eugenicists. You look at something like, I say, you look at Musk. You don't really want to because he looks like a fucking robot. But you look at what he says, and he's talking about the world. You know, we're not populating. We're not having enough children. What? What the fuck are you on? There's 8 billion people on the planet. I mean, there's 8 billion. Is that not enough? Oh, sorry, Mr. White South African. What you really meant was there weren't enough white people. Oh, okay. All right. Now we get down to it. They're eugenicists. They are social Darwinists, all of them. And you drill into all of their ideology, and that's what it comes down to. They want the super wealthy Nepo babies to rule over everything. They want that going back to the lords and the serfs, and we're the serfs. And it just upsets me so much that there's so many people who have such little self-worth about them that they see someone like Trump and they literally butter their ass up for him. And I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? Get off the ground. Stop groveling. Stop tugging your forelocks and doffing your cap, you daft twat. You know, people have deference for the royal family. They've got deference for Prince Andrew, you know, because he's royal. No, he's done fuck all in his life. He's a fucking nonce, and you love him because he was born a royal, right? Meghan Markle, who made her own money, you know, a mixed race woman in America, fantastic actress, really good in suits. And, you know, she made her own money. She made her own way in the world. Oh, no, we're not having that. Not having that. You know, people making their own way in the world, people making money themselves, you know, out their own talent, the bastards. Gonna hate her. Gonna put in, like, you know, articles every day saying she eats the wrong kind of fruit. She eats avocados, not the nice avocados that Kate eats. No. Evil war avocados, they're called, you know, conflict avocados. She wears them bling on her finger, you know, a big avocado on her. I mean, just what? But yeah, this is I just want to pick people up off their fucking knees and say, have some self-respect. These people are taking the piss, and they're going to destroy you and your family, and they won't care. Trump, Farage, Boris Johnson, Erdogan, Orban, Silvio Berlusconi. I know he's not with us anymore, but, you know, as an example, these populist knobheads, scumbags, wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. There is evidence that Netanyahu knew what was going to happen with Hamas on October the 7th last year. He knew. They had advanced warning. And I'm not going to do that whole, what's it called, conspiracy theory rabbit hole. But he got everything he wanted. He wanted an excuse to destroy Gaza. And he also wanted an excuse to destroy Hezbollah. We now have a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, which is not really holding, but, you know, did anyone think it was going to hold? But it's really, really interesting, isn't it? That, you know, he has got what he wants. What did he want? He wanted to destroy Gaza. It's something that he said that he's wanted to do since the 90s when he was recorded, at a time when he said, I want to just take out all the Palestinian people. Thank you very much. I don't mean for a nice meal. Right up to now, when he's literally facing a jail sentence, when he stops being Prime Minister of Israel. Is he going to give up? No, he'll just kill thousands more people because that'll keep him in power. And when something horrific happens, and rest assured, there's going to be a lot of horrific things happening in America over the next 4 years, it gives the president, the leader, Prime Minister, Chancellor, whoever, the excuse to bring in more draconian rules. And whereas in South Korea, when the president the other day went, I'm going to declare martial law, and then the parliament went, no, you're fucking not, dickhead, because the parliament was run by the opposition. Parliament in America, Congress, not run by the opposition, my friends. No. And then there's the Supreme Court, which is above the law. It's basically a 9 judge dreads, and 6 of them are basically judge death. And they just want to make Americans suffer. They've just upheld a ban on puberty blockers and gender-affirming care for minors. That's going to affect half the states in America. Already, Trump's not even in power yet, and he is what's going to happen is pretty goddamn evident to anyone who's paying attention. And if you want some references on this, let's have a look at his last term in office. More people died of COVID when he was in office than died in the American Civil War. The most bloody conflict that Americans have ever been involved in. Yes, I mean, obviously, World War II, more people died, but not more Americans. America didn't get bombed. I mean, Pearl Harbor got bombed, but apart from that, America didn't get bombed. In fact, Hawaii wasn't part of America back then. There was only 48 states. Alaska and Hawaii only became states in the late 40s. They went up from 48 states to 50. That's why if you want to be historically accurate in your war film, you have to have a flag with 48 stars on it, not 50. Fun fact. So yeah, Americans, the Americans who died in World War II were the Americans who went and fought. These are soldiers, airmen, the sailors, Navy, I should say. Just any old sailor. But yes, so I am gonna. That's my spiel. That's my pitch. I've yacked on for half an hour now about why I think that this is the way it's going to go down. Please tell me I'm wrong. Please tell me I'm talking out my absolute arse. I would love to hear it because I kind of want to be. I don't want to be right. I don't want this to be the case. I have a sneaking affection for America. Not all of it, obviously, but it's done some good things. It has done some good things. It's made some bloody good music. It's made some bloody good movies. It does sort of punch above its weight in terms of cultural impact. And in some ways that's a bad thing because it means that we have their shitty plastic food everywhere in the world. But also it's kind of cool that there are these cultural touchstones that we all can share now because of America, whether that's Marvel comic book universe, Star Wars, or Star Trek, or whatever. America has made some good shit. Can't argue with that. But at the same time, America has done some really horrible shit around the world, and America's attitude to stuff really does have an effect on other countries and how they behave. Because if people see a bully getting away with it, they think it's okay for them to be a bully too. As simple as that. And America's going to see their president get away with murder, and they're going to go, well, I'm going to try and get away with murder as well. And then you're going to see countries around the world looking at America going, well, they can do it, we can do it. And yeah, I do worry about there being a disaster, an earthquake or a big flood, a drought, Boulder River dries up, but something. And a huge displacement of people in America as a result, internal displacement, and that resulting in epic violence, but also Trump declaring martial law, and his little pocket pals in Congress and in the Supreme Court will just go along with it. And then you've got what's happening in Ukraine, what might happen in Taiwan, what will happen in Afghanistan, she doesn't give a shit about, what's going to happen to the people of Gaza, she doesn't give a shit about. And that's really, really, really concerning. But yes, let's bang on. Right, okay, so eugenics, again, is pure arrogance. It absolutely is. Ernie Burns said, we restate narrative for reality when it's our only way of dealing with the unpredictable nature of life. We have nukes, says Ian. Yes, about 5. Full Metal Jacket has quite a bit of realism in it too. Beheading in Bible, but no toilets mentioned once, says Genie Bottle. Yeah, gay people are not mentioned by Jesus at all. He never mentions not being gay. He does mention not committing adultery 3 times in the Bible. Jesus doesn't mention being gay. He also doesn't say that slavery is wrong either. So, I've got better morals than Jesus because I think slavery is wrong. Do you think slavery is wrong? Well, congratulations. You've got better morals than Jesus Christ. Well done. It's almost as though, you should really create your gods in the Bronze Age, and I think that might be still applicable to modern life thousands of years later. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. The comments, maggots will rise up against the millionaires and billionaires. That Health United guy was the first of many. Yes, I think that's going to happen, vendetta, and that's what I was talking about. This rise of violence. People thinking they're going to get away with it, and people having this vendetta against XYZ and going out and doing something about it. His comments of there will be hell to pay are quite disturbing, though. Yeah, he's talked about a day of violence, like the fucking purge. He's talked about this. So why if I was a Democrat now, I'll be booking my flights out. At least, for the first 2 weeks at least, just to make sure that it doesn't go bloody bonkers. But first 100 days, maybe I'll just get the hell out of America for 100 days. You can go to Panama. You get 6 months when you go to Panama. You don't need a visa. Just turn up. Get 6 months. So yeah, if any of my American friends go to Panama, I've got a nice island there. You can go and stay. Please consider signing the parliamentary petition legally recognise non-binary as a gender. Many non-binary people in the UK currently feel invisible and ignored. Okay, Truth3, I will check that out. You're absolutely right. I didn't realise that it wasn't an officially recognised gender. That's fucking mad. You can bet by the end of his second term, Trump will be looking to run for presidency for third term, and he has the Supreme Court on his side and the majority Conservatives to do his bidding. Yes. Well, I say 4 years. Yeah. It's as long as he lives. I don't think we're going to see the end of the Trump presidency until he's dead. Until that fucker is brown bread, until he's pushing up the daisies, until he's shovels off this mortal coil, until he's joined the choir invisible. I can't see it. I just can't see it. He's gone to hell. My sister is rewatching Torchwood Miracle Day, and much of what happened seems to be fairly analogous to what might be coming. Doctor Who sometimes gets it right. And then the UK arms industry is a large part of our social bill, says Ian. Well, the UK arms industry is the only bloody industry in the UK that exports are guaranteed by the UK government. So they're guaranteed by the taxpayer. So, for instance, if Jordan, not the model, but the country, buys, say, like 20 tanks off a British armament company, they pay 15 of them, who picks up the bill for the other 5 that they didn't pay for? We do. We pay that. We cover it. We insure it. We insure those exports. We don't do that for anything else. We don't do that for steel. We don't do that for cars. We do that for financial services. Anything else we export, we don't do. But for the arms industry, special deal. Possibly a nonce. Well, yeah. Evil War Avocados, and that's a film. Yeah. Sign the parliamentary petition. Review of royal duchies, crown estate, and sovereign grant, and watch Frankie Boyle's Farewell to the Monarchy. Tony Robinson, Britain Real Monarch. My heart bleeds for the people of Gaza. I know it's tragic. It's proper. It's a tragedy. It's tragedy. But isn't that line about history repeats itself? First is tragedy, and then there's a farce. I mean, we're entering the farce stage of everything. Technically, King Charles apparently traced his ancestry all the way back to Woden. I call bullshit. Hi Graham, says Sarah. Hi Sarah, how you doing? Over in Wales. We've got Congress is run by the many lobbying interests, but the Federalist Society has the most influence. That's from Ernie Burns. Yeah, they've been planning this for years. They've been planning it for absolute years. And all of us on the left, Democrats, Labour, Greens, we're always playing catch up. We're always trying to react to what they're doing. They're the proactive ones. I spoke about that the other morning. Trump is famous for talking BS. Trump will head back to the golf course. He's lazy, says Plumduff. He's lazy, but he's also unpredictable. I mean, he only needs to work 2 days a week to cause absolute carnage and put people in charge of these departments, federal departments. They're just going to create horror shows for people. Just the amount of violence and the amount of suffering that's going to come of this, whether he plays golf 6 days a week or not. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's put people in place who are going to make people's lives shit. It's going to destroy people's lives. I've spoken before about, I know people who are leaving America. I know people who are moving from one American state to another because they're really worried about what their future holds. Reproductive rights, gay rights, trans rights, and uprooting your life is very, very difficult. You got to leave everything behind, everything you built. Imagine you're working on a house and it's a fixer upper. You've been working on it 7 years, and then you just got to leave it one day. You just got to leave. You got to abandon it. It's hard. It's bloody hard. And not leave all your friends and family. What if you've got a relative who's older, who's not well? I mean, you can't bring them with you. Just leave them. What do you do? So much suffering. And there's the big difference between whether, Kamala winning and Trump winning. If Kamala had won, Republicans wouldn't be living in fear of their fucking lives. They might be living in fear of having to pay a little bit more tax, but they wouldn't be living in fear of their lives. Whereas Trump's got in, and there are millions of Americans now in fear of their lives. And that's the cruelty. That is the real cruelty of the people who voted for Trump. They didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit about their own people. Which is just sad. That wrestling loon, Hulk hogwash, hopefully he won't get a government job. Yeah, he's a sexual assaulter as well. He's a rapist, isn't he? And when Angry Pagan's talking about paganism, which is a surprise, you wouldn't know that from his username. It would be Alistair, but the world will be united in their angst. I fear for Ukraine in 2025. Says Plum Dove says, so do I. Trump won't push up daisies, it's too poisonous. Yeah, poison the daisies. When Trump is poisoning the daisies. When you said you thought the Tangerine would win, I said, I hope you're wrong. Your track record is close to the mark, Graham. I'll say that I'll hope there's something unaccounted for it to change it, says Blue Badger 88. Well, I mean, I don't like talking about this. I don't like even thinking about it. I'd rather not. Not talk about fun stuff. I'd say about like some movie that I watched or some song that I like, or some country that I think is really cool that everyone should go and visit, or some place in the country that everyone should go and visit. I want to inspire people and excite people and make people want to do stuff, whether that's write a book or make a video or go traveling or do something, or help someone, just help someone across the fucking street or something. That's what I want to do. But unfortunately, we live in this world where at the moment, the bad guys are absolutely kicking our asses and we're not fighting effectively. One of the things about the anti-Brexit movement is it just wasn't effective. We had 1 million people, maybe a bit less than 1 million, but we had a lot of people turn up in London, a good few 100,000 at least, turn up in London and march against Brexit, the flagship government policy, and it did nothing. We had a petition signed by 6 million people, and it did nothing. And that is testament to the lack of joined up thinking. And one thing that the right are very good at doing, it's joined up thinking. It really is. Like, again, it's one of those things where it's because they've got the money. They've got the money, and there are a few people on the left who have money, not many, but they are loath to part with their money. Because most rich people are tight bastards, and even if they're progressive, they're still tight bastards. That's why they're rich, usually most of the time. If they were prepared to put up with being paid X amount, for doing stuff, then I don't think they would have amassed the wealth required. It's a bit catch-22, isn't it? We need wealthy people to support us, but at the same time, wealthy people won't support us, because if they were going to support us, they wouldn't be wealthy. It's a hell of a catch. It's the best there is. I've got a super chat talking about funding. Thank you very much. This has come from David Faulkner, which is 38 Hong Kong dollars, which is about £3.85. Hey, all Americans are right-wing, irrespective of whether they vote Republican or Democrat. There is no left in the US. You're right. 1 million really lovely people. Unfortunately, too lovely. Yeah. But also, I mean, there should have been making it worth politicians' while to listen to us, and that was something that we couldn't do. We couldn't get the Tories on side because we couldn't bribe them because we had no money, and we couldn't get Labour on side because the leader was an ideological fucking lunatic who thought that it was a great idea for us to leave the EU, even though he lied about that. He lied about the fact that he thought that it was a great idea to leave the EU. He said it, and then he said, "Oh no, actually, I want to stay." And it's like, "Oh, how much do you want to stay?" "Oh, 7 out of 10. Okay, mate. All right. When people call Starmer a liar, because he's had to go back on some of his pledges that he made when he was running for leader before COVID, before COVID happened, before the mini budget, before Rishi Sunak and Rwanda and all the other shit that happened. And it's like, as leader, I want to do this. Okay, yeah, great. Is that as leader or is that as dictator of the Labour Party? Because if he's dictator of the Labour Party and he doesn't do these things that he says he wants to do, then he can fuck off. But if he's just the leader and we have a thing called, collective, what's the word for collective responsibility amongst the shadow cabinet and now the cabinet members, to go along with these policies that they formulate together. Yeah, then I'm a little less like, oh my God, he said he was going to do this, and then he did that. And it's like, well, I think he wanted to do that. Sure, he did. Vote for me. These are the things I want to do. But at the end of the day, the Labour Party is a democracy. And if they can't get enough MPs or cabinet members on side to say, yeah, this is a great idea. Okay, let's go and do this. Or, when the real politic hits the fan. Oh, I didn't even mention fucking Ukraine. So, yeah. He ran for leader. He ran his leadership pledges, his 5 pledges or whatever it was. He gave them out before COVID, before the invasion of Ukraine, before the mini budget. So I'm a little bit more forgiving of that than a lot of other people on the left, I guess. But then the people who are going, oh, he's not kept up to his election manifesto promises. And I'm like, yes, he has. One of the things we complained about going into the election was that the manifesto wasn't that revolutionary. But they are doing the stuff they said they were going to do in the manifesto. They are taxing the rich. They are nationalising the railways. They are trying to sort out the bloody water in the UK. They're trying to sort out Great British Energy so we can make our own bloody power and be energy self-sufficient. Wouldn't that be nice? And these dreams are like these dickhead Brexiteers go, we should be food self-sufficient. I'm like, we haven't been food self-sufficient for over 100 years, mate. 150 years. I'm like, actually, it's even fucking about 200 years. It's about 200 years. I shit you not. The potato famine, 1840s in Ireland, that was exacerbated by the British taking the food. The British taking the food from the Irish that they had, the little food they had, it was taken away from them because Britain couldn't feed itself even back then. Because we had these massive cities growing and growing and growing during the Industrial Revolution, and we just didn't have enough farmland. Even when the agricultural revolution of the turn of the 20th century happened, when we started discovering nitrates and we didn't have to leave fields fallow every few years to regenerate the soil. Even then, our yields were never what we needed them to be. In World War II, dig for victory. Yeah, because people were encouraged to grow their own fucking vegetables in the backyard or in, a plant box on the back windowsill of their terraced house. I mean, the idea that like we could feed ourselves is a nonsense because we were completely dependent on food coming in. And that's why one of the reasons why we had rationing. We were completely dependent on the supply line coming in from across the Atlantic for our food. And yet these same people who go on and on about food security, we should make all our own food, which is mathematically improbable. I think it's possibly impossible. I don't know enough about farming to be able to say, yes, it's happening. Maybe if we had some kind of high yield crop that produced a lot of protein or whatever, and we could just about feed everyone, but our diets would be pretty bleak. It would be the same shit every day. Boiled beef and carrots every day. Yeah, I mean, even if that was possible, which I don't think it is, why is that the important thing? Because the food that grows elsewhere in the world that we can't grow in the UK, like bananas, I wouldn't want to live in a world where, I wouldn't live in a country where there's no bananas. I wouldn't want to live in the UK where there's no tea. You can't grow tea in the UK. Can you grow grapes? Yes, you can, kind of, but the wine's a bit shit. No offense to British wine producers, but not quite there yet. Okay, so but why are they so against energy security for Britain, energy self-sufficiency? Why are they against that? Why do they go on about food so much? Okay, fair enough. Go on about it. I think it's improbable, but it's a noble goal, I guess. Don't be reliant on bananas from some other country. We'll just eat, tripe. What else do we used to eat? Pigeon pie. Tripe and pigeon pie. By the Great Brexit Cookbook by Graham Hughes. It's very funny. Genuine Victorian recipes, which are gruesome. Like boiled squirrel, poached seagull. Anyway, and pigeon pie, of course. And yeah, the same people who are there marching with the farmers are the same people who want us to remain reliant on Qatar for our oil, our gas, to remain reliant on Norway for our oil, to remain reliant on other countries for our energy needs. And I'm like, fuck that. Why? And the only time they get excited about energy self-sufficiency is when it comes to drilling in the North Sea. Not building more wind turbines, which is the most efficient and cheapest way of generating energy. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to drill for oil in one of the most dangerous seas in the world. Nothing bad will happen. Nothing bad will come of that. It's some money for your carbon capture technology, indeed. Anyway, right, so I'm going to go back into the chat. We used to have banana boats coming onto Barry Docks, also the occasional spider. Hey, the decision is poor decision making, poor education. To tell you about a scorpion scare when I was in Costa Rica. Did I mention this? I put my jacket on because I haven't been wearing my jacket for weeks because it's been too hot, and the jacket had been hanging up on the island, and I just picked it up and put it into a bag, like a shopping bag, and got to the airport, and it was cold in the airport because air conditioning. So I took my jacket out of the bag, put it on, put my backpack on, put my camera bag on. And there was a woman in the queue ahead of me, and she just turns to me and she's like, "Don't move, don't, crawling, don't move, crawl." And I'm like, what? And I take off my backpack, throw off my hat, take off my jacket, throw it on the ground. I'm like, what is it? So go, like this. And the guy who was on the other side of me on the queue literally stamped on this scorpion. I had a scorpion crawling on my shoulder towards my neck, and this woman's happened to say, if she hadn't seen it, I would have probably got bitten or stung. Sorry, they don't bite, do they? It's the tail. But yeah, I don't think it would have killed me, but it fucking would have hurt, especially if it got me in the neck. Oh, Jesus. It doesn't bear thinking about. Anyway, so visit Ginger Island. Please keep the scorpions under control. So we've got a few scorpion stories from Ginger Island. You know when we first got there 3 years ago, me and Marcus, we didn't have a working shower. We had to fix it up while we were there. And so we had like a bucket of water, like a massive blue bucket of water, a barrel of water. Downstairs was rainwater collection. And you had a little scoop in it and you just pour it over your head. That was your bucket bath and your bucket shower. And yeah, so he's doing that. And then I think he put his t-shirt on, like after washing himself, he dried himself, put his t-shirt on, and there's a scorpion on his t-shirt. It's like, fucking hell! Oh my god! Oh, and there's another time. This is quite a few years ago. My friend H was staying on the island, and the best question I've ever been asked was like, I was up in the main bedroom, and she had been in the guest bedroom, and she'd gone down to have a shower. She shouted up to me, "Graham," and I'm like, "What?" I said, "Is there supposed to be a scorpion in the shower?" And I'm like, "Yes, yeah, that's Scorpy, my pet scorpion. I just keep him in the shower for." No, of course there's not supposed to be a scorpion. The bloody. Anyway, so we disposed of that scorpion, but yeah. Any dangers on Ginger Island? Well, there's no snakes. There's no snakes. What about Yorkshire tea, hand-picked on the upper slopes of the eastern side of the Pennine Hills? Very true. In context, I said there were too many people now to be food self-sufficient. That's advocating for a downhill. There isn't. There isn't. The world can probably feed, and shouldn't, but it can probably feed about 10 billion people easily. The problem isn't there isn't enough food. The problem is logistics. Like to walk down a path in the jungles of Borneo or Central Africa and walk for 5 days and find a little village for which there is no road, there's no river to get there, and they've got Coca-Cola. They've got Coke. There's a person there selling Coca-Cola. And I'm just like, yeah, they don't have a problem. They don't. There's no problem with food, but it's a problem with logistics. And you look at some people around the world who have more than they should and possibly don't want to be eating that much food. And then you've got people who don't have enough each day and not getting enough nutrients. But yeah, the tech is there, the farming is there, the land is there to farm. If you talk about high intensity farming, look at what they do in the Netherlands. I mean, it's only a small country, but they produce a shitload of food, like an amazing amount of food, because they really go, they heighten the efficiency. You go to Spain, I mean, it's not very attractive to see all these plastic domes, on the countries, all over the countryside, but it's effective in growing stuff, so they do it. There's obviously a problem with food. There may not be enough food available. I believe that you're not advocating a Malthusian view of political economy. It speaks to a dangerous zero-sum, that mentality that we should avoid. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have a problem with the population of the Earth. I mean, I don't think that it should go any much more than what it is, but I don't think we're going to run out of food anytime soon, unless there's some kind of war, unless there's some kind of problem with the logistics. And don't forget, when you do have a civil war or even a world war, the issue again, it's not being able to grow this stuff. It's not like you can bomb all the farmers' fields in the world. I mean, you just can't. There's not enough gunpowder in the world. There's not enough nukes. But what you can do very effectively is disrupt the supply lines, and that's it. And then what we do in the West, what we do, Europe and North America, is we disrupt the supply lines for many of these places in Africa. And we've done it for years. I mean, a brilliant way to disrupt the supply lines of certain countries is make them landlocked. So there's 12 countries in South America. And 12 and a half if you include French Guiana, but that's part of France. Actually on the back of the Euro banknotes. There's 12 countries in South America, and the poorest two are Bolivia and Paraguay, both of whom are landlocked. You look anywhere but Europe. I mean, there are a lot of landlocked countries in Europe, but they're generally on a navigable river like the Danube or something. So, they could have trading links, and also they had good neighbors. At least they weren't at war with their neighbors, or their neighbors allowed their stuff through, right? Now look at Africa. The poorest countries in Africa, nearly, are by and large landlocked because they have no access to the sea. You have these big container ships that can take 20,000 TEUs, which is 20-foot equivalent units, which are the containers, standard containers. You have 20-foot containers, 40-foot containers, right? And these ships can take 20,000 TEUs. These are the post-Panamax ships that are just insanely big. If you had that on trucks and you put the trucks in a queue, in the traffic queue, one in front of the other, it would reach from Liverpool to Leeds. That's how many lorries you would need for one ship worth. So you imagine you're bringing stuff in to Burkina Faso, which is a landlocked country. How do you get it to, on a ship? It's got to go through someone else's country. It's got to go through Senegal. It's got to go through, no, Senegal doesn't have it. It's got to go through Benin. It's got to go through Togo. It's got to go through Cote d'Ivoire. It's got to go through someone else's country in order to get into your country, and they're going to charge you for that. So if you are a landlocked country, you pay a premium, and it's said that no country in their right mind would choose to be landlocked, and it's very true. But the situation in Africa is those borders weren't drawn by Africans. They weren't drawn by different groups, kingdoms, tribes of Africa. They were drawn by Europeans for what was in their best interests. And if you don't have access to the sea, you are fundamentally going to be in trouble. Afghanistan has no access to the sea. How do you get stuff in and out of Afghanistan? Well, it's got to go through, I don't know, to Turkmenistan, Iran, Pakistan. Good luck. It depends what the political winds are like from one day to the next, whether you're actually going to get your stuff through. But even if you can, the idea of having 20,000 lorries worth of stuff brought into your country is madness. I mean, that is thousands of lorries to bring in the same equivalent of what you can bring in one ship. And don't forget, there's a lot of ships out there. And European countries did this on purpose. They wanted these countries to stay poor and basket casey. They didn't want them to do well on their own, so they screwed them from the start. The one notable mention I'll make for a country that's landlocked and doing all right is Botswana in Africa. Why is Botswana doing all right? Well, it's had a democracy since the 1960s. It's got the economy's doing fine, and also gets on with its neighbours mostly. And what's their biggest export? Diamonds. Can fly them out. A lot easier. And also, like I say, they have a good relationship with South Africa. South Africa's got good roads. The roads in West Africa are not good. Let me tell you, they're not good. So if you're trying to get some commodity into Mali and you're trying to take it along that road that I took from the capital Conakry of Guinea to the border with Mali, good luck with that. Good luck with getting your 20,000 lorries along that bloody jungle track at 5 miles an hour. Good luck. All the best. So so we've set things up to fail. We've set countries up to fail just by dint of geography. And one of my mantras is that you can't understand history, and I'd say you can't understand geopolitics unless you understand geography. World politics, I should say. You can't understand why the world is the way the world is without understanding geography. There's a huge difference, depending on just the way the dice was rolled in these different places around the world. That's why you have empires that rose and fell, depending on their environment, where they were, what crops they could grow, and what the neighbours were like, and whether they were surrounded by people who just wanted to conquer them and smash everything up. Don't forget, you had Genghis Khan come running through Central Asia, burning everything in his path, and then you had Tamerlane, who did the same thing. Just like entirely razed cities to the ground because they wouldn't pay him tribute or whatever. I mean, terrifying. And those countries still suffer to this day. Landlocked countries, they really do have difficulties. And Uzbekistan is double landlocked. You've got to go through 2 countries to get out of it. Number 3, I'm looking forward to Christmas. Lots of stuff that we don't need. Overeating, plastic and waste everywhere. The music and icing on the cake. Yippee. Winter's Tale by Queen is a genuinely good song. There are plenty of fields where I live and no one's growing, lest the farm shops are fully stocked. You're the one who thinks poor people not being able to afford things means there's a shortage. Lol. No, it's not necessarily about people not being able to afford it either. It's logistics. It's purely logistics. But I mean, maybe I should be concerned about stuff like that. But I'm not. I'm less concerned about everyone getting fed in the future. I'm more concerned. I'm not that bothered about the population. We've seen the population rising at a kind of steadier rate than it was in the 20th century. And if you want to stop people having so many kids, there's a simple, surefire, 100% effective way of doing that. Educate women. That's it. The more educated women are in any given society, the fewer children they have, and the later they have them. Fine, replenish the population, but let's not go mad. Let's not, 16 billion people on the planet in 50 years' time is not going to be a good thing. And also, I just want to mention this as well, because I'm talking about sort of consumerism, consuming food. But one of the things that we do have to address is the waste, and Richard just talked about this, saying, the waste of Christmas, the amount of plastic packaging and shit like that, the amount of stuff we throw away is diabolical. It's fucking diabolical, mate. It is just so wrong on so many levels, and we could do things so much better. I mean, Africa recycles stuff way better than we do. Way better. When I was traveling through West Africa, I'd get a Coke and I'd drink it. I'd have to drink it there in the shop. You get the Coke, and you would, because you were thirsty and it was dead hot. Drink the Coke and you give them back the bottle. You don't get a refund. They expect you to drink it there and give them back the bottle so they can put more Coke in the bottle. What do we do in the West? We make plastic bottles and then we throw them away. And then we make more plastic bottles. Instead of cleaning out the bottles, like we used to do with milk, we used to take the bottles away in an electric car, electric vehicle. We used to clean the bottles out and put more milk in. And then we stopped doing that. And now it's all Tetra Pak cartons and bottles and plastic bottles. And it's not great. We need to really, really address that. Stop the waste. One of the really good things that the EU did recently was making a law say that, a regulation, not a law, a regulation saying that all electronic products have to use USB-C to charge. Great, cool. I don't need loads of different cables now. Don't need a drawer full of freaking cables for my phone or electronic products. Brilliant. Okay, let's do that. And we need to be thinking about waste in that respect. I really do think so. And also food waste as well. The amount of food we waste is again, it's diabolical when there are people who are hungry, people using food banks. We need to address this. We need to really, really address this. The best before dates of products is just a best before. It's not a use by. A use by date is important on it, like a yogurt or something, because you might get some kind of you might get some E. coli if you leave it too late. But I mean, on a product that's a pack of crisps or something, it's a best before date. Throwing that stuff away? No, the stuff you can do with it. Anyway, so going off topic here because we're supposed to be talking about Trump, but that's nothing new. They sold me a dream of Christmas. They sold me a Silent Night. They told me a fairy tale till I believe in the Israelites. Can't afford to eat. People not being able to afford basic doesn't mean the basics aren't on the shelf. So you're saying they can't afford it. Are you stupid? You're basically saying they can get the same stuff, but in supermarket. What? I don't know what you're talking about, Ian. Like I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the fact that they can afford it. One of the problems with the logistics is that it costs more to get food, for instance, to a country that's landlocked. Okay, so they're getting basic staples in. They're getting flour and rice. And for them, it costs more than it does for a neighbouring country. It costs more for them than it probably does for us. So being able to afford it is a huge part of the whole logistics problem. The amount of potential of bringing back allotments to grow food in the city areas, those who want them, are stifled by both lack of number of viable council plots and the tax band bureaucracy from Tanta the Indian. I don't think you're wrong there. Civil discord in chat. You can agree to disagree. Ian is talking to Alf. Oh, sorry. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. I'm going now. Anyway. Right. So I'm not doing a show tomorrow. We're going to try to do a Friday night show. I'm going to talk to Mikey today and see if he can produce that. And I might just put in a guest appearance on that. But otherwise, she'll be back on Saturday for another one of these at 1 o'clock. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. But until then, thanks very much for watching. Sorry for being. This is why I shouldn't be a Debbie Downer, is because no one gives any super chats when I'm like this. When I wake up like Eeyore, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm giving him any money. Bloody hell. Just made me sad now, haven't you, Graham?" And like, if I wake up like Tigger, then everyone's like, "Oh, he's bouncing around like a lunatic. Let's give him more money." Oh, ADHD, you are so fun. But yeah, so thanks very much for the super chat and from Hong Kong, and thanks for the chat. And don't fall out in the chat. Don't argue too much. It's hard because sometimes when you're in the chat, you know this with text messaging and stuff. Yeah, what you mean isn't necessarily what people read in what you've written. What you mean is not what you think he means. But yes, YouTube can't say. That's what I'm saying, lol. Okay, let's agree to agree. And until next time, I'll say thank you so much for watching. I'll be back maybe tomorrow for Friday night. Social, but if not, definitely on Saturday. Listen, we're having a meetup next week on Wednesday. So if you pop on the Discord chat, if you can make it, we're going to be meeting in London around lunchtime, around the Euston area, Euston, King's Cross area of London. So if you'd like to meet up for that, then please come along. You're very, very welcome, especially if you are a member or a patron of this channel. So we'll chat about it on Discord. But just maybe if you've got spare lunch hour and you happen to work in London, I'm very sorry if you do. No offense. Okay, right, I'm on. I'll see you later. You take care, and until next time, I will say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.